it's already live. No, you can live. Shouldn't be. Oh, that's why, because it was on Zoom. I put it real quick. I'm using the touch the camera.
What's it? Nepotism?
We're about to start the show, all right? Everybody at the same time. Nepotism, is it real or not? Yeah. I put nepotism versus networking and helping somebody out. We live everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Sorry about the delay, man. We just getting the YouTube up. That one's on me. We're live in the studio, though. Chris will be joining us shortly, hopefully.
Is this made for kids?
Yep, we're live in the studio. Let me put my word out there. Right? Yeah. We're live in the studio. Yours truly, Chris Pender Sr.
Devin Pender. To remind you guys that we are here to empower, inspire, and uplift the community. Also, like, follow, subscribe, share. Interact with us. You know, if you have topics, let us know. We're on all platforms.
Welcome to another edition of Above Average Black Men. We were off last week. It was Chris's birthday. So we were all a little preoccupied last week. He should be joining us shortly, but we're back. And tonight's topic is we're going to talk about nepotism. You know, is it a real thing? You know, is it wrong? You know, what's the difference between nepotism and networking and helping somebody out? You know, so it's, and we all know where this stems from. This stems from LeBron James helped out, you know, his son, Ronnie James.
Yeah.
And I hear people complain about it. But as an athlete, man, if my dad would have said, yo, I can get you on the baseball team or Major League Baseball team or on the basketball team, I'm all in. Yo, I'm all in. I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, I don't just know. I mean, it's one thing if you know you can't play, but if you have any inclination that you can compete, you know, I don't know anybody who would not take advantage of that. I don't. And Chris comes down. I don't know anybody who wouldn't take advantage of that. And we're talking about nepotism. And see, Chris ended right on cue because I knew he would. I know he would. If I told Chris that I could have got him a spot on trial for an NBA team,
sign me up.
Yeah, he would have been sitting there talking about, nah, man, I can't do this because I don't deserve it.
$7 million.
Yeah. So, you know, and it's crazy because I hear more black people say it than I do white people. I hear more black people complain about, you know, he only got it because of his dad and so forth. And I go back to when I was working for Comcast Cable, when it was Comcast Cable was growing and Ralph Roberts was ready to retire. And his son, Brian Roberts, was the heir to the parent throne. And people got upset. And, you know, first of all, he made his son do every job in the organization. He installed cable. He worked in customer service. He did every job so he could understand. He literally worked so he could understand the business. It wasn't like his son, plus he graduated from the University of Pennsylvania. It wasn't like he just gave a job to the high school, and people were upset. And I just remember saying to myself, I wish my dad could hook me up with something like that.
Mm.
And it wasn't that he wasn't in the story. Kind of told itself because look at Comcast Cable now. So apparently he was qualified.
And I think the thing is, like, there's countless examples of it as well, other than kind of Bronny James and the NBA. I think, like you said, Comcast. I saw that there's, someone within Samsung, Rolex, all these, it's family businesses.
Jerry
that are out
Jones
there.
and his
But
son.
you know what's hilarious about this whole thing? Because there was a time when, and I kind of liken this to the whole DEI thing. We'll talk about that. But there was a time when African Americans got passed over consistently for non-qualified people because somebody had Uncle Joe or Cousin Reno, so they were hiring somebody's nephew, and that just it was like that.
Mhm.
So, and I don't remember hearing this whole cry, and the reason why I brought up DEI because it's kind of the same thing. You can be a
What?
qualified African American,
Mhm.
and you get hired. They only hired you because you were African American. So those two things kind of like are really in my craw right now. You know, and I'll stick with the LeBron James one for now and nepotism because what's wrong with a father looking out for his son? I don't get it. If I had, you have an opportunity, and it's not like he can't play at all. It's not like he's not the next Kobe Bryant thing, but it'd be different if the kid had no skill set whatsoever. He couldn't walk and chew gum. But I'm like, hey,
It's just, what it is, though. It is tough to see, like, honestly, especially just thinking about people, like you said, that may be qualified. For instance, like Council the Fourth on the Sixers. He undrafted guy last year. Sure, there's probably plenty of guys like that this year.
But that ain't Bronny's fault. That ain't LeBron James' fault.
But I think that's
the
what,
NBA missed out on
but
it.
I just think that's what comes with the nepotism, It's like.
But that's why I don't like the term because you blaming Bronny James because his father. I'm sure Robert Council, if his father could have hooked him up, he would have took it. He would have been sitting there talking about that's not how I want to get in the league. No,
be nice though.
But it doesn't.
Like,
the point. I could if he was just a terrible player, and the story's still out on that. We don't know what he's going to develop. We don't know what he's going to develop. Mm-hmm. I'm sure people looked at Council and said the same thing. He's not good enough. I'm sure. No, that's why nobody drafted him. People looked at him like he's not good enough. And that was the assumption. And people are entitled to their opinions. But I'm pretty sure that night when he wasn't getting drafted, and if his dad would have came and said, look, I got this connect, I can get you on the Thunder, he would have took it.
Yeah.
He would have been sitting there talking about, oh, man. And it happens. It happens in football. Where somebody knows somebody and they draft them.
And that happens actually all the time.
And it happens in football.
Like with the coaching street, like Andy Reid and his son. Like
Bill Belichick and his son.
Yes.
The offensive coordinator, I can't Brian, what is his name for the Eagles? But he was the offensive coordinator for nobody else.
You don't hear anybody really, again, like complain. It's really just kind of in our community, I think, that we
and it's
look
because
at it as such a bad thing.
And it's because I think for some people, they're going to try to find a chink in LeBron James' armor. You can say whatever you want to say about him, but dude has been impeccable as a citizen, as a basketball player. You can talk about anything else you can say, but I think when you're like that, people always look for the chink in the armor.
Yeah. And it's, what it is, though? It's because, like, I think, one, his dad is held to such this high standard. And, again, it's not unfortunate, but, that's just part of being that man's son. It's like all of those things.
But it's the perks of being. But you know what? But
it's also right.
I'll give you the perfect example.
Perk of it too. Why not take advantage of
his
that?
Business manager.
Y'all been watching me my whole life.
But his business manager agent was never one before. He got the gig because he grew up with LeBron James.
Yeah.
He had no resume. Now, so I'm saying I hear people say this all the time, but now look at him.
But see,
no experience, no resume. I just trust you, bro.
I think people look at that this so much different because it's like we seen Bronny James play.
Yeah.
I think that's really where it's like this a little bit of the difference here. Because in some cases with nepotism, people are definitely not always qualified. But it's like in this instance here, when it comes to athleticism and sports, it's like
you
look at this, like, man,
we're coming out of college. If you went undrafted, and I said, yo, Chris, I can get you on the Sixers right now, making $800,000, which is a whole not a lot of money, $800,000 a year. I'm just saying for far as athletes though, you're gonna turn around and say, no, you're gonna try to make it work. And then if it don't work, it don't work. But you want to try to make it work. And I hear what you're saying. Plus, it's different because he got drafted. And he got drafted on the team.
And he signed right away.
But I think it's magnified because he also got drafted by a team who needed immediate help. They didn't need a project. So I get it. So all these things come into play. But at the end of the day, I wish, that my father would have been in a position to say, yo, hey, this is a shot. I mean, come on, man. I hear people say, and it's no different than the worst guy on his basketball team in college. He think he's supposed to play. The worst on the team in college think he's supposed to play. I mean, he don't come up there saying like,
the question though, is it always good? Is it always necessarily going to be a good case of nepotism? I think sometimes it's not deserved.
Yeah, but my point is,
setting your child
but I hear that.
failure.
But I hear that. But that to me, what's the difference in other ethnic groups do it? You're looking out for your family.
Yeah.
You're looking out for Uncle Joe kid got no experience whatsoever, but you're looking out for him. So what's that? I mean, and it happens. I'm sure I've been in a position where somebody got promoted who didn't know squat, and he got promoted because he knew somebody. It bothered me, but I also understood, and I learned a lesson from it. It's not always what you know; it's who you know. Sometimes
it's actually funny. It's even thinking about kind of beyond nepotism. Yeah. It really is kind of who you know. Like it's definitely times where you seen jobs posted one day and they already fill it the next day. Like they know.
Me and your mom was just talking about that. I learned this when I was in corporate America. Typically, by the time the job get posted, it's already filled. Mm-hmm. They post it because the law says you have to post it unless you create a position. But if you hire someone, so it happens all the time. And they'll interview black people because they got to say they interview so many. No, they ain't gonna hire.
I already know they filled the position.
Yeah, and I used to sit there and watch it when I was working in corporate America. Like, yo, the position is filled. So while all these people, you want these people, and they interviewing like they think they got a shot. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, but then let me ask you a question then. So, what's the difference then if a white person promotes another white person instead of a black person or any other ethnic person because they feel like they get along better? Because I know you forever. So that happens all the time, and I don't hear anybody complaining.
Yeah, I mean, again,
in the NBA, in the NBA, people get jobs because they know somebody.
That's everywhere. I feel like.
Yeah, but so everybody wants to persecute Bronny. Everybody wants to look at Bronny and say, "Oh, you the worst guy."
I think we kind of touched on a number of different reasons why, though.
But is it fair?
The need that they had to get better in that instance, and it was like, does this really answer that need? No.
Well, let me ask you a question. Okay, so here's the $1 million question. So what about all the busted lottery picks? Mm-hmm. Who thought was going to turn franchises around, and they just became journeymen? What about that? Busted is a strong word, but Markelle Fultz, and I just go through the Sixers. But that's not. He wasn't drafted just to hang around.
They all had a better resume.
Sean Brad. Yeah, but that's my point. So you but you don't know though. But my point is you still don't know what the finished product is going to be. Most of the stars in the NBA weren't predicted to be the superstars they are. Mm-hmm. Nobody had Steph Curry as changing the game, being one of the all-time great shooters. Look at Dame Lillard. They were talking about that a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, he was good in college, but nobody expected that from him in the pros.
Yeah.
So they miss it. This girl, you don't know. Harold Miner was supposed to be the next Michael Jordan. You don't even know who he is. That's my point.
Harold Miner, I feel like the name sounds.
That's my point. He was great in college, and he got to the pros. And then you had Roy Marble. There's a bunch of guys who people drafted. Oh, these guys are going to change the game. They ain't changed nothing. Leo Rollins was supposed to be the next Larry Bird. He was so bad.
I'm
just saying. These are all people who came into the NBA who had a resume, but it didn't work out.
I mean, yeah,
I'm just saying. I can go down and list of people, man.
A chance on people, but it's like this one, like I said, was just so. He had a heart condition. Mm-hmm. He only averaged 4 points or something like that.
How many people shot a terrible percentage? How many people missed on Michael Jordan? Fly.
He played. He played.
But I'm just saying, nobody predicted him to be who he is now.
I mean, he still was going to be a top pick.
Yeah, he was a top pick. Yeah. But how many people passed on him? Who got drafted before? He drafted third. What's the dude? Sam Boyd got drafted before him.
I know.
Who didn't last a lunchbox. But I'm just saying, so you don't know. Ralph Sampson was supposed to be this great super type, but he wasn't.
But I think the difference that we're saying here is like Bronny honestly is an undrafted guy.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. I would not debate that. But my point is, okay, he had an end.
Yeah, he did.
So, if he falls flat on his face, you know what? Him and LeBron got to eat that. And unfortunately, the bar is raised too high because even if he becomes an effective role player, it's still always going to be you got drafted because of your dad.
So it's like, to me, I'm like trying to, I guess, figure out what the question is. It's like, do we really agree with nepotism, or we for?
Well, for me, the question was, what's the difference between, nepotism? What's the difference between networking and helping somebody out?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm curious. I'm not saying I think there's good and bad attributes to it. I do. I think there's good things about it and there's bad things about it. I think it can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing.
You want to know what's the difference? In your network, you're not going to put somebody that you know is not qualified into a position for something.
Not true.
Why? Because then that's a representation of like that could damage your image out there your network.
But people do it. People do it. You see it in politics.
I would never put somebody I know that is
you see that's a mistake. You wouldn't.
But I'm like,
how many people in politics shouldn't be there, but they're there because they knew somebody? Ben Carson. Okay, Ben Carson. You put Ben Carson in charge of public housing. What Ben Carson know about public housing?
Like, they
but that's my point. But you just said, people do it all the time. We don't make a big deal out of it. People do it all the time.
That's another different type of networking, that quid pro quo.
But I'm just saying. So, I mean, I'm not saying it was right. I think it was wrong for a lot of reasons. I think it was wrong because it fed into the notion that was on the heels of the whole scandal with LeBron James and the coach. So, from a marketing point of view, that was just terrible. Because you got the coach fired, the coach turned around and said that you made them bring all these players in there. You turn around and said, that's not me, I don't have a clout. Then you get your son drafted. Mm-hmm. So for PR and marketing, I get it.
It's just a lot going on around.
For the way the Lakers are right now, I don't understand why he just couldn't sign him undrafted. I don't get that point.
That would have been a better option.
I don't get the point why he just let him go. And they thought maybe another team
was his name called in the draft.
Well, it's my dream too, but guess what? It ain't happening.
But then I think that's the side of kind of networking and nepotism that I lean towards.
But I'm not agreeing with it.
Yeah, maybe we can figure something out, but it's going to be at the level in which I think that
right. And I want to make that clear that I'm not saying that it was right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think putting the Lakers. I'm not going to say if because I don't know for sure. If he put the Lakers in that position, it was wrong because you put you before the team. And that could definitely tarnish your reputation because you got guys like Kobe, like Michael Jordan, who they wanted to win. They wanted to win. They weren't bringing in somebody because that was their boy. Mm-hmm. Like I love them Michael Jordan, Dennis Rodman. They hated Dennis Rodman. But Phil Jackson's like, yo, this dude can put us over the top again.
And they let Dennis do
Dennis. But that's how it wasn't like they were bringing in somebody like he's never gonna see this, like they bringing in John Sally, who wasn't really going to be a difference maker on their team, because somebody like John Sally.
Tomorrow, John Sally will send me a message.
We like John Sally. So I do. I don't know. I just think we use it so much now. Mm-hmm. We use it in every situation that we even if the person is qualified and happens to know somebody, that word comes out. It's not being used. Like in a crazy situation like we just talked about LeBron James and Bronny, but. It happens all the time. We don't say anything. But the minute something happens at a higher level, it becomes a big deal. But I don't see like Ralph Roberts and Brian Roberts. If I had like my nonprofit, if my nonprofit was worth $1 billion, why would I leave it to somebody else who I didn't think was going to take care of it? Just because I wanted to prove, no. If I thought you guys could run it and I know you could, that's who I'm leaving it to.
Yeah. And I think that is kind of what I was just thinking about when you referenced the guy from Comcast, like and how he worked at every level.
Yeah.
I think there's probably maybe ways of doing it, where it's kind of earned, and they deserved it. They worked their way up to it, right? Versus we just kind of giving this to you with no type of work for it. I think that does rub people the wrong way. Like,
but I could see that. But I mean, in terms of you've been working somewhere, mm-hmm. And the position comes along. So let me ask you: so should that person be disqualified because the person making the decision is related or knows them? Should they just be disqualified automatically?
Can you imagine? Like, I watched this kid grow up, and then you see him get picked over you for something. Like just thinking about that, even in a company scale, like the boss is bringing his son or daughter around all the time. and then like they get of age and it's a position that's available there. You've been working here your whole life, and then they get the job over you.
But look at
Like,
okay,
that would be
but
crazy.
I go back when you and Nicole came home from college and you needed a job, and I got you hooked up at PYN. You know, y'all got bumped in front of a lot of people.
Yeah.
Y'all got bumped in front of a lot of people.
It's qualified.
No, but I'm just saying. but I'm just saying there was people with more experience, more things. So I mean, and you guys did a fabulous
You
job.
still interview.
You guys did a fabulous. But that's my point. But I used the people I knew to get you in the door.
to get the interview. Yeah.
Yeah, to get you in the door, and you know. So I'm saying it happens all the time.
Guaranteed for us going in there.
Pretty much, you'd have to blow that. You had to be like a blind duck to blow that,
which is possible.
But then you don't deserve it. But I'm saying, but you know, and it was funny because people came to me at people and say, "Yo, you know, it don't look right." What don't look right? You know, they're not. You know, because remember, for a minute I had y'all work with me at people. You know, and y'all got more done in the short time you were there before you went to PYN.
Yeah.
And then the crazy thing about it, never really replaced y'all. Anybody that was doing half the work y'all were doing. Complained the whole rest of the time because, you know, I had 2 people. So I'm saying it happened.
Situation right there, you know, where people just couldn't stand it. They said it didn't look right, and like just hear chatter.
It didn't look right because I did it. That's why it didn't look right.
In Bronny's case, I feel like the whole crux of the argument really came from why people are upset is one thing if it's like, all right, the Lakers are going to draft and da-da. But it's a whole nother thing if you're literally telling teams, listen, don't draft me because I'm going to go become a competitive video game player or something just to force your way to be a Laker, you know? Not giving other opportunities.
I've always
had
had a problem with that when John Elway did it, when Eli Manning did it. I'm not putting him in the same category. But the thing I'm saying is I've always had a problem with that. So I agree with you. Even as a top pick, I think you should not tell somebody, you know, where you're not going to go.
Deion Sanders did it too.
So I do agree. Yeah. Well, he's the one he set precedent for this. You know, he changed a lot of stuff in the league.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's like, I'm going to go play baseball.
Yeah. But I just nepotism again. I think it is kind of that thin line between like that and being comparable to networking. I do think there is a slight difference, but I
would agree.
Like I said, I'm on the fence on it though. Like just because I think if they're qualified, or even I don't want to say qualified all the time, because somebody can be coachable or teachable and they can improve and you can see things where they may be able to develop into something. And who knows, maybe that's what people think of Bronny, like as the example that we're using here. And the same works in the business sense too. Like you can try to coach and mold people into like just taking that next step up. But there are instances where you see people who like, kind of you used it more in the political sense where it's like they got no business like leading or heading a certain department or team because they have no experience, none, no qualities of nothing that.
Man, there's people who don't know anybody got those jobs.
So it's like, I think it's definitely one of those things where it I don't know, it's like a delicate balance too. I think it gets abused at times, but I think it can be beneficial too. Like I'm for it, you know, being the son of somebody who has been able to put me in certain positions. I hope that I could honestly do the same for my kids. Like,
I think it's
that's
case
what
by
like
case.
It's about, right?
I think it's case by case. I just feel like people take that term and they run with it. And it's ironic because I see Caucasian people talk about it and they say it's okay because this is what happens in the business world. And then you hear black people complaining. You know, when you hear people who maybe should be complaining because they're on that side of the fence, saying that this happens all the time, you know, like you said, behind the scenes, it happens all the time. You got the guy who just graduated college in marketing who's now running the marketing division for, you know, so I just think that's where I kind of troubles me because we like labels. We do. We like labels. We put our feet in the sand, but I wish that there was more people I wish when I was coming up, somebody could help me.
And I was just thinking about this as you were saying this. Is like I almost feel like it was kind of a trick to put this like stigma on nepotism, just because like our country, everything has been founded on like just kind of people having family owned and ran businesses. Like, so it kind of blows my mind. Like people were definitely having businesses and passing it down from generation to generation, and nobody's complaining about that.
Nope.
Nobody says, "Oh, that's nepotism. Why you didn't sell your business or move it to
Hers?" But potato chips has been the Hers family for so long.
So it is very interesting that we kind of frown upon it so much. I think more so probably in our community, like I said, a lot. But it definitely it's everywhere. It's born and bred into this country's fabric, and I think we definitely need to change how we talk about it. Now, I think again, like in some cases, it can make us uncomfortable because you feel like maybe somebody else should have had that position. But it's like again, I think it's dependent upon the business and position.
But it's just, and I use the same thing with
just think about the football teams. They pass those down from family to family too.
They sure do.
I think it's if you depends on if you like the person or not. Honestly,
if you like them or not.
Yeah, because like you said, the football teams, no one says anything.
Nobody's
about
saying like, hey, how come
you
you didn't sell this team? Like, or like,
how come owners?
Yeah, like why nobody complains about it at that level of like just the ownership and being things passed down. It is more so you see the nepotism complaints in the management. You know what I mean? Or like,
but it's usually from people who don't have anything to pass down.
That too.
That's usually the people who complain, and we all want to be able to do things for our kids, you know. And I agree, you know, I get it. But to me, as long as you can make it better for each generation, that is passing something down.
That's ultimately the goal.
If I can pass down some character, some integrity, you know, some wisdom to make some good decisions, to do things different, I think that's what you're passing down. But I'm not going to criticize. You know, I'm not going to criticize LeBron. Like I said, when I graduated, I knew I wasn't ready to play NBA basketball. But if my dad would have came to me and said, "Look, yo, dude, I can get you a tryout on this team. I can get you a contract. Sign me up. Sign me up." Then we get I remember Charles Barkley said when he got to the Sixers, they asked him about how did he feel about sitting on the bench and everything. And of course he wanted to play. But he said he was just so happy to be in the league. He would have sold popcorn for the money he was making. And I'm the same way. So I get it. You know, I mean, you always want to try your skill set against the best. Now, I think the way he bought it, I agree with. But you always want to try your skill set against the best. You know, and in his mind, you know, Bronny probably thinks he does belong. I'm not saying he does. But in his mind, well, we'll see. Because he had some good moments near the end of the summer league. You know, not enough that make you go, ooh, wow, it was warranted. But he got better as the summer league went along.
What do you think more is powerful, networking or nepotism?
I think it depends on the situation.
Networking or nepotism? Which one would you?
Nepotism, because you can network all you want sometimes and it still doesn't come to fruition. And if you're someone like me, which I'm a little impatient, it doesn't, like sometimes I just want it right then and there, you know?
But that's most of us. That's most of us. We want it right then and now. I mean, I was the same way, man. So you got to earn it. But I also understood, you know, early on that sometimes, you know, the best people didn't always get the job. You know, I understood that. You know, I remember when I was working for Atlantic Financial a long time ago. Man. I was working for Atlantic Financial, and it was a position posted, and people were trying to get it and trying to get it and trying to get it. And I was qualified, but you know, quite frankly, how I got it? Because I was the only one that had the balls to go to the vice president and ask him to play on our basketball team. He was a big dude, and I used to always talk to him and everything, and like, yo, why don't you come out? He's like, nah, I don't think that. No, come on out. And we said, yeah, we talked like normal people, man. I remember we was practicing in North Philly, and we went across the street to the street. He's like, come on, let's go across the store. Let me buy you a soda. I'm thinking like, yo, no, you do know who we are. So, and be honest, that got my foot in the door.
And that is also like the other side of business, honestly, like, because there's a bunch of people that's qualified out here. Like, that's just the reality. Like, everybody is going to college, they doing these things, they submitting their applications. Yeah. And, you know, as somebody who's a manager and as myself in a management position, like, we see applications all the time. And there's very little different things that kind of separate people from each other. And a lot of the times, like, it's the networking part. Like, how are you able to kind of be able to interact with people? Like, I'm thinking for how I even got promoted, it was kind of getting outside of my comfort zone, talking to people in different departments, getting your name out there so people know who you are, name recognition type thing. And I think, like, that's a big part of, like, kind of what separates you when a job is open. Like, you kind of, you already set your network up.
Well, I'm looking at resumes now. It doesn't impact me when it comes to hiring, but as far as interviewing, if I see somebody with a Dobbins or a Strawberry Mansion on there, I'm excited to go. Now, sometimes there does, and I can't move to the next round. But I'm excited to call. Like, if I can help someone from around the way to do something, I try to.
I mean, but that goes to why
I try to. But they got to be qualified. Now, I'm not going to hire somebody, who.
But that was the basis of fraternities and stuff like back in the day. Well, I don't know how much of it now, but it's like the having a network and that connection with people, and like you said, even a college and Like sometimes I see like, oh, the Peace Act, like, little things that make a connection to something that you know. Like I think makes that connection with people sometimes, and gets you in the door. It separates you from somebody else.
But I think it's important. Like I've known people who who I've known for a while, who used my name and got jobs. I know people who I knew for a week and used my name, and somebody would call me up and say, "Yo, guess who's working for me?" I'm like, "Who?"
I never met
So and so. I don't know that dude. Yeah. So I mean, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
It had people name drop when it helps, and so that's just the way it is. And I'm not saying it's. I think in some situations, like you said, if somebody's been working somewhere for 20 years and you put your son in charge, he never worked there for a day. I get it. I can see when you can play. He don't know what he's doing, especially if you got to do his job for him. Mm-hmm. But if you got somebody who's been training their kid up to do this all along, that's why you build companies. That's why It was funny because I was watching something. And I don't know how true it is with LL Cool J on there, and he made this statement. He made this statement that was very powerful. He said, the problem with most rich people is they get rich for themselves. He said people will become rich over and over and multiple times. They get rich for somebody else. It's not just about them. They want to be rich, but they want to build up enough to leave something to somebody else, to have something else, to carry on. And he that's a big difference.
So I got a question. Do we think that there's a right and a wrong way to go about nepotism or even networking?
Yeah, you can't sleep your way to the top.
We know that.
Absolutely the wrong way. Absolutely the wrong way. It shouldn't be no personal favors. You shouldn't be getting promoted because you buying. Like I was working someplace. I'm not gonna say the name of the place. And me and one of the supervisors getting along, one of the vice presidents, because everybody else was babysitting his kids. I'm not babysitting your kids. It won't happen. He would come around and they would do it. They would babysit his kids and stuff like that, man. And I got something to do, watch his kids. And y'all were young at that time. I got my own kids. But it never worked out because in the end, he got booted eventually anyway. But I'm just saying, that kind of stuff is no place for that. Mm. That's no place for it. But if you got somebody who you've been training and grooming for the position, they should not be disqualified because you're friends or because you're related. I just don't think. I disagree with that. Mm-hmm. I disagree with that.
I was going to say I actually agree with that. Like you guys were saying, like when people they hire family, but they have them start off at the very bottom to work their way up. I feel like that's the correct way to utilize nepotism. In my opinion, it's different when it's a friend or family. You're just like, all right, I'm gonna give you this CFO position because we go golfing on Thursdays. Like I feel like that's when it's an issue.
But let me ask you a question: would you turn it down?
Oh, if I was on the other side, no.
I'm just saying, if somebody came and said, "Yo, I got this 6-figure job for you just because you were a nice guy, or just because I like you, just because we related to something," some of them same people out there moaning and groaning would not turn it down.
Yeah, I think that's actually kind of the funny part about it is that people would definitely take that opportunity.
I know.
Like if somebody, all the people that are complaining about it, if somebody came up to you right now
and offered you a similar opportunity,
you get this guarantee.
Or I'm gonna bump you up from truck driver to CFO, like Devin said. Or I'm gonna you gonna be community relations person, making 4 times as much as you making. They ain't gonna sit there and say, "Well, Joe been driving longer than me." No. So I hear it, and I think. I get it sometimes, but I think we make too much of it because you prohibit people who are qualified. You make people who are qualified, who have a qualified candidate. Now they sitting there thinking about it, because especially if you want who worries about what people think.
No, but I'm actually thinking about it too. So if it is a position where like you ain't got no business doing it, I know myself personally, I'll probably be like, whoa. Like, why you put me in this hockey league? I know nothing about this. Like, why you something like, you know what I mean? If it's something where it's I got no business doing it, then I think that's where people get upset at. Where it's like you got that feeling of sense where this person has no business being in this position or role. Yeah. I think people can understand if it's somebody that comes in. It still may be some feelings that are harbored there, but like if they coming in there qualified and they're putting in the work and you see those things, I get that. But again, I think where even we keep using the Bronny example, it's just because people are on the fence about whether or not like the qualification parts fit. And I think that's where kind of the nepotism part where people probably more so have an issue with it. I don't think in a general sense I don't think too many people probably have an issue with it. Like they would accept the position if it came to them, if somebody in their family or somebody that was connected that they know they would take it. I would agree that most people would.
That's
take
why
it.
a lot of that is rooted in jealousy. If you're being honest, like a lot of people are very envious of the fact that LeBron's in a position to do that. A lot of these people are in a position to do that, and the fact it makes them look in the mirror like, "Oh, I can't do this, so let me go online." And
I think this person
discouraged.
they hate Bron's power.
But I think that has a lot to do
They hate
because
the
you hate his power. I think people don't. And is it too much power? Yeah. But he's not the first. Magic Johnson had it. Kobe Bryant. That's superstar status. You had that power.
Yeah.
You don't think Larry Bird controlled who came to the Celtics, who didn't?
It's actually kind of funny.
People kill me with that.
Nepotism. I think that people they talk about the kind of the giving it father to son or keeping it in the family, but I do think it is kind of more so the power to even do that makes people mad.
I mean, Dwayne Wade tried it too with his son.
He ain't have it like that.
Yeah,
he ain't had the juice,
and that's why no one was mad. But
no.
But I do think a big part is just like a little bit of the jealousy comes from even having the power to be like, I'm going to put him here. There's nothing you could do or say about it. I'm going to make this happen, and I don't care what you say or think. I think that's
but
probably what rubs people the wrong way too.
But he didn't take the power; it was given to him. He didn't take the power. The power was given to him. And typically, in most cases, when you allow somebody to feel like they have the power to be bigger than the organization, they do take advantage of it. I'm not saying, I'm not saying anything bad about LeBron because I wouldn't. But, you gave him that power. You gave him the power to say, bring my son in here, and this thing was unveiling, and Fly driving me crazy. This thing was unraveling before this. You knew everybody was talking about this what happened last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what's crazy, what's in his cannon, what's his new last name? Don't know, I forgot it.
Freedom.
In his family.
Changed his name to Freedom.
He was saying LeBron James pretty much like a dictator. Like he just what he says goes. And that's beyond the team.
But he's not the first person that had that clout. You don't think Michael Jordan?
Yeah,
Michael Jordan got Doug Collins fired. Doug Collins was the coach of the team. He got him.
But that's a great example because if Michael Jordan wanted to get his son into the league,
he'd be in the league
easily.
Come on, man.
But he was like, "Dang, he got it."
When they was telling the story,
Mike
think nobody got it. When they was telling the story about, if you watch and they talk about Phil Jackson went to him and asked him, "What do you think about bringing Dennis Rodman to the team?" That's power. When you as a coach know you got a guy that can put you over the championship and you go to, but I'm just saying though, but that's the same kind of power though. It's a different caliber of talent he's talking about, but that's the same kind of power. When I'm going to you to say, what do you think about bringing this piece to the team? That is.
I don't know. We're talking about somebody that we don't think is qualified.
But you're looking at it wrong. We're talking about the power now. We're not talking about the act. We're talking about people who have the power, which is different from the person he used the power for.
I know.
But if Michael Jordan would have sat there and said, "My Uncle Joe, we need to put him on the team," he'd have been on the team. He wouldn't have got a lot of playing time, but he would have been on the team.
Again, it's like, I think why I'm bringing up the Michael Jordan thing, because he was able to look at his sons and be like, you know what?
Objectively.
You would do the same
but Michael Jordan wasn't equal.
That's
the same dude who said on his Hall of Fame speech that I pity my sons because they could never be half of what I am.
If I ain't have it, you would tell me and let me know. Like, or you wouldn't put me somewhere where you think potentially I would not be successful.
But everybody can't see through the same lens. And I'm not debating that it was misused power. I'm not debating that. I'm not. I do think he hurt the team, and it wasn't just about him. It was the team, because you put the team. And it's funny because I think people don't realize it. One bad draft can put you years behind everybody else. Yeah.
But you want to know what else made it?
In sports, one bad draft could put you years behind everybody else. And you got a team where you got Anthony Davis in his prime, and instead of getting help, you drafted a guy who you hope is going to be able to play in the NBA.
But you want to know what made it bad, though, too? Is how Brian was talking prior to this. Yeah. That added all this, I want to play with my son. He tweeted one day, or on X, he put out one day, my son better than half the league right now. Like, he can play
help us
right now.
The Lakers.
Like, and this is when he had USC. So I think, like, he put a target on him for one. He built him up to be.
I agree.
Half the league? Are you kidding me? Like, these guys that.
But I want to know who his friends are, because if I had a friend who was saying that about his son, Dude, he ain't that good. Dude. Look, I love you, but guess what? It ain't like that.
It's hard for some of his friends. I mean,
but then they're not
schooling and stuff.
Yeah, but you still. But I want my friend to be honest with me and say, look, hey, yo, dude ain't got the chips for that.
That's part of the problem.
And so it is part of the problem. But I say it's the same thing. But he hired his agent, the guy, his business manager. Dude had no experience, none whatsoever. Everybody said he was crazy, he was a fool. But he had no experience managing NBA players. But you had no experience, man, and your first client is one of the best guys in the league. And people said the same thing. That's not going to be Bronny. I'm not saying it's going to be Bronny, but there's always risk takers. There's always risk takers who do things. It's just like what's the movie with Cuba Gooding and Jerry Maguire. When he left his job and he took a chance on, and Cuba Gooding turned down. He turned down the contract because Jerry told him,
show me the money.
Yeah, he showed me the money. Yeah. I think it's Jerry Maguire. Well, I don't know.
It is Jerry Maguire.
Yeah, but so I'm just saying. So that stuff happens in real life, man. Where people take a chance on people. Now I'm not saying again. I want to make it clear that I wouldn't. If I was LeBron, I wouldn't have done
that. Take a chance on your family.
If I was LeBron, I would have started low. I would have said G League. I would have started low.
He is going to play.
If I was going to be,
well, I don't know because I don't know. I don't know the details
on the roster.
I don't know his details, but they did say one of the things they were talking about was
he gonna play.
His contract was going to say that he wasn't going to go to the G League. I know that's one thing they were talking about.
They better change that now.
But I'm saying, I can see
he might be in like the first 10 days, and then they're going to send him right down there.
But I do think it's going to be just like with the Ball brothers. People are going to come at you.
It's going to be way worse than that.
I think people are going to come at you.
Lucky Pat Bev.
I know, because if Pat Bev was there, he would have been a menace.
I think people are going to come at you. And people going to talk trash to him. I hope he got a thick skin because people are going to talk. You only hear because your dad.
I was about to say, maybe his dad on the bench.
Yes, they will. There's one thing LeBron is not known for is fighting.
I mean,
I don't know if he can or not. But and you can't protect him. Would you run out there every time somebody talk trash to him?
He's going to drop 30. You got Bron mad. He gonna start just getting buckets.
He's not built like that he can't do that every night now. He can't. That's not in his makeup anymore.
Man, I don't know. After what I saw in the Olympics, he's still the best player in the world. Like, he is the GOAT. And he's the GOAT, and he's going to get his son into the league too. So he's doing it all.
Well, it's funny because the GOAT debate is, I was watching the thing, and Julius Erving and other people were talking about it. And Julius Erving, by the way, says the same thing.
What?
That LeBron is the GOAT. And
how can you deny
he laid out a logical case because I think people look at it from whatever perspective they want to look at it to make their person a better person.
Yeah.
So you look at Mike, you say all the ring. I give you another better example. ESPN did the top quarterbacks, and Cam was third. So this dude broke it down, says because Baker Mayfield and somebody was in front of Cam. And he broke it down, and he said the same thing about, when Cam was talking about Brock Purdy. And I didn't even realize this. He said Cam never had another superstar on his team.
No,
he said nobody. He said the only person from his college team that made it to the NFL was offensive lineman. When he got to the NFL with Carolina, and he had Olsen, but that was it.
He got Christian McCaffrey for a brief second.
Well, no, but when they went to the Super Bowl. He was it.
Olsen, yeah.
Oh, yeah. His best receiver was Ted Ginn.
He was it. When he went to the Super Bowl, he was it.
Yeah.
And he said, then if you look at Brock Purdy, he's throwing all these superstars. You look at the Baker Mayfield, they're throwing these guys is going to, So I think that kind of goes back to what we were talking about. Your position has a lot to do with it too, where you are at a certain time. He's on the team right now, which is not a good fit for him because they used to win in Showtime LA is they media wherever they go, whether they're, 49-9 or 9-49, they're going to be the story of the front page. And the problem is when you're 9-49, it's going to get blown up more.
So I think that's even kind of interesting too. It's like, what's more important, getting what you need to be successful or nepotism? Making sure that your son.
Well, he put his family first. He looked out for his family.
He ain't need it. You know what I mean? Like you said, it could have been another option, a way to get him on. Like just get him in the G League.
Let's flip it. Let's flip it and talk about this. So let's talk
about then like that guy we talked about podcast. Start at the bottom.
But let's talk about Deion Sanders. they said the same thing about him and his two sons, but they balling out.
They actually good though.
No, but people said the same thing when he went there, and people left Colorado State because he went there and told them, "Yo, my son is gonna be the cornerstone," and people left and all his nepotism.
They could have went anywhere.
But I'm just saying though. So people said the same thing, like his son's not ready and all stuff like that, and I'm just saying they were saying the same thing about him. They said it was nepotism. Now they both gonna be in the NFL unless something happens.
He actually was nice though.
Yeah, but it wasn't. See, you keep looking at the person. We're not talking about the person. We're talking about nepotism. We're talking about the power. We're not talking
I'm talking about the qualifications of those.
Yeah, but see, nepotism is not just about qualifications. It's about hooking somebody out.
I think that's what bothers people is not necessarily the nepotism part of it. It's the qualified part.
Yeah.
Like I don't think.
But they said the two Sanders boys weren't ready.
Yeah, I know
them boys ready.
Yeah, that's what to say.
But I'm just saying. So that's but this goes back to what I'm saying.
Even when people were saying they wasn't ready,
but this goes back to what I'm saying
because they went to an HBCU.
But people
coming out of high school, they would because anywhere else.
So did Jerry Rice. So did Jerry Rice. So did Doug Williams. These are some of the guys. There's a bunch of guys in the NFL, man. Who matter of fact, HBCUs. They really started putting them over the top. No, but what I'm saying is, when they were talking about Deion Sanders, they didn't see them as being talented. I know what you're saying. I get what you're saying, difference in talent. But all they knew, they was getting the hookup from their dad. Nobody looked at it, well, how is this talent going to translate over here fairly? It ain't going to transfer because he ain't never played against anybody. So, but the same thing was used because it was nepotism. They don't say nepotism, but now they mad at him, Deion, because he got all these all these pro players on his staff.
Yeah,
they all could have did it. They could have all reached out to. They could have all reached out. Eddie George, he knows other people in the NFL. He could have reached out to got some. He's not the first guy in the NFL.
Sure, he probably did reach out to some people.
I don't know. But even if you look at what top 10 college coach doesn't have players that played in the NFL that's retired, they couldn't reach out to. Come on, man.
I mean, yeah.
So they all could have did it.
Some of them do have. But you know what? They get like the guy that was really good that. Like your Tim Tebow, he would be a college coach.
No, but there's guys who like Steve Smith. There's guys out there who excelled in the NFL who would probably gladly go back to coaching in college if they had a shot. If Steve Spurrier, somebody called him and said, "Yo, I got him." So I'm saying you got on him for doing it, and then the same thing. Deion Sanders had MC Hammer, those dudes on the sideline.
MC Hammer.
He did. He had all these advertisements. So I'm saying because
I was going to say MC Hammer,
but that was his power. Yeah, because back then that was a dude. He had MC Hammer too legit to quit.
Oh, he's talking about.
Yeah,
I'm talking about coaching.
No, I'm talking about back when he was playing. He was one of the first guys too legit to quit. So I'm just saying, guys attract people. Who they know.
Yeah.
And in college coach, just like they called up Deion Sanders, they could be making phone calls too, man, to get staff. There's a lot of guys I'm sure would love the chance to coach who just sitting home, who missing football right now. Yeah. Deion just had the guts to call him up and say, "Yo," now his name is a little bigger than
I was about to say,
but
Deion called you.
But I'm sure Eddie George knows some talented players that if he called them would come.
Who knows?
He's a Hall of Famer himself. I know he knows some guys that if he called them, I can't believe there's no people he met over his career that was decent. I mean, because they do.
I mean, but maybe he does, and maybe they just don't know about it. Maybe it's like guys, that unknown guy from the Tennessee Titans that.
Well, they gotta be. They know superstars who I mean, so but you get on Deion for that, because other people don't do it. Now, Barry Bonds was doing it. People wouldn't have to say a word about it. Okay, it wasn't nepotism, but I said coming out of college, Tim Tebow wasn't no top 10 quarterback. It ain't take a genius to figure it out. If he was black and ran like that, what did they say? He's not. He's a runner. He's not. That's all you would hear, though. That's all you would hear. You still hear it about Lamar Jackson. You still hear it about.
That's actually a good question.
But you still hear it about those players. They still, Jalen Hurts. One year he's the best player because he go to Super Bowl. Next year he can't read defenses. I mean, come on, man. I mean, you hear that, but if a Caucasian quarterback. He gets a break.
It's a down year.
Wentz still got a job in the NFL.
But
Wentz still got a job.
Got a triumph for, was it the Jags a couple years ago because Urban Meyer?
Yeah.
Now, was that nepotism?
Yeah, of course.
That was networking. That was kind of like his son.
That was nepotism, man. I'm going to get this dude back in the NFL.
That was crazy because he would have had no other chance.
As a tight end.
As a tight end. Not even in the position that he's played before. Like that definitely that's your network. That's your network.
But I'm saying it happens all the time, man. It
I
just,
know.
And it's because
It's not going
because it's
It's not
LeBron.
gonna stop.
And again, I know people taking this wrong. I'm not saying it was right, but because of LeBron, everybody's making a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
But you don't call it out when it happens on other places, man. It does happen. Okay, look at the Greek Freak. His brother never get off the bench.
And we talk about
He got off the bench. He got off the bench for the first time to break up when he was about to
He
fight.
got drafted before Giannis.
He did get drafted before Giannis.
But you don't think that
But
was
he would
you
be
don't think
gone.
that you don't
He
come
should
on,
be
man.
gone.
He got drafted because they knew they were going to get Giannis.
He got a sneaker contract because Giannis.
He got a podcast.
put him- You think? I mean, well, I was giving him that for himself.
He gets off. He got off the bench last week because he was going to get into a fight because somebody fouled his brother on purpose.
You need to do like that.
Yeah,
No,
boom.
man.
Yeah, but that is definitely like nepotism has.
It happens.
People complain about that too. Like some people say he's taking up a roster spot.
But
Yeah.
but if I'm Giannis, so what? Who cares?
He don't care.
They both laughing all the way to the bank.
They don't need that spot.
They both laughing all the way to the bank.
Yeah.
And Giannis makes enough off, but now he earned his own money. I'm just it happens all
He
the
did say he
time,
want to
man.
get traded too. The younger
He
brother.
probably do, but nobody want him.
He wanted to get
Ain't nobody
traded.
knocking the door and say, "Yo, we want this
Is
dude."
Giannis coming too?
Right.
That's what everybody asking. Like, yo,
This
he
is
already
package
signed a
deal.
contract, so we can't get him. So,
But
but it happens, man. I'm just saying, look, I wish it's like my dad, because everybody knew my dad's last name. There's places I went that I benefited from that. That I benefited from that. Hey, you be somewhere, or something as simple as Mansfield. We would go to Mansfield, and other than the first time we went there, we never paid a dime to get in the game. We always if they saw us in line, they always brought us to the front. We walking in Walmart, people say, "Yo, you Chris, Nicole, and Chris, so." And then, but I'm just saying though. So and people would look at us like, "Well, who are they?" We get to Mansfield. There's a long line. We stand in the back, look around. Oh, come on, I'm just saying. So that was favoritism. Wasn't quite nepotism. The president would sit with us almost every game for a few minutes. She would come over and sit with us. Someone was like, "You remember that?" She would come talk. She tried to recruit you. She would come sit and talk to you. She wouldn't walk around sitting there every fan in the stadium or in the arena. So I'm just saying, it happens.
Yeah. And I think it's like again, it's one of them things where I think it's a delicate balance to it.
Yeah, it is.
It's certainly a delicate balance to it. I'm for it ultimately, but if it's used wisely.
My man Bronny he's getting unjustly
Used
worth.
wisely.
Hey, $7 million.
He's getting unjustly
He's good.
worth. Yeah, he is good. And I didn't see that, but I think that also made it bad because he wasn't worth $7 million. And again, if you're talking about a league that you're talking about finances and signing players with salary caps, that's why I said there's so many things that's wrong with it on a team side of it.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many boxes that's checked, but I don't blame him. I blame the owner.
Yeah.
Because as much as I like LeBron James, he is not the player that's going to lead you to a championship by himself. Those days are over. Those days are over. And there
You
wasn't.
shouldn't even want him to do that at 40.
What I'm just saying. So you got to put that in.
Yeah.
And every year he's not going to be this. Even if he doesn't, if his skill level doesn't change, and he, his body starts to change. This league is getting better and better every year.
Mm-hmm. Getting more.
You think people like Anthony Edwards care?
Getting more.
I'm getting mine. The league is getting better and better every year, man. I mean, you have the off year where guys come out and they don't exactly, but look at Council. Dude is, now they questioning, should we even sign Gordon? Everybody's like, we signed, Gordon because we thought. So I'm saying there's diamonds in the roughs out there. But every year the league gets better and better. Look at Maxey. Maxey wasn't projected to be like this. So the league is going to get better and better every year. So every year he gets older, the league gets better. That closes the gap.
Yeah.
And Anthony Davis has never been the guy that could carry a team for the whole game.
And that's why they should have used.
He's never been the guy. So you got to get him help, man. Yeah. It's the same thing with the Sixers. Somebody put an article today why Philly fans don't hate, why we hate. We don't hate Embiid, but Embiid is not the guy that you're going to put out there for 82 games. I mean, not even 70 games.
We just know he's going to get hurt.
Yeah, and it's not even that. He don't give you effort every night. It's you got a 5'5" guy guarding you and you falling back, fading away to the free throw line. So I'm just saying, so those days, the league is changing rapidly. So I think as far as the Lakers, for a team, that was a bad mistake. You invested $7 million and going to get cap hit that you could have been paying somebody else. You're
just
using a
can't use
roster
it
spot.
wisely.
You're using a roster spot that you may need because LeBron's another guy's not going to play 82 games.
Either is Anthony Davis.
And it's not like you got this strong supporting cast that, you know. So I mean, yeah.
Go
So
connect.
team wise, but it's like
We should've
if Kobe had a nephew playing somewhere and Kobe went to the Lakers, they draft him, they were going to draft him. Now Kobe wouldn't do it because Kobe was winning first.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm about to say.
Kobe like, yo, go. They would have to have 11 dudes who can really ball before somebody like Kobe
That's
would
what
do
I'm
that.
saying. It's like the
But that's not
that's why I
that's
say it's
LeBron.
it's the dual sides of it. Like, yeah, if it's done wisely, like if he could have just been like, son, I can get you into the G League, work your way up.
No, I wouldn't have a problem with if the Lakers had a team that was
Like
a
the
championship
street
caliber
got it.
team, was a
They
championship
got it.
caliber team, and they didn't need players desperately. It wouldn't have looked so bad.
True.
But they need it. Like in Boston just won the chip. They got a nice young team. Boston would have did it. People would have chucked it about for a little bit, but it wouldn't have been that big a deal.
LeBron would have went to Boston.
But I'm saying he's in a situation now where he has to play.
Treat everybody.
Well, you almost have to play this dude. You invested $7 million in him. He's a top 15 pick.
55.
55. I'm sorry.
15. Oh,
55.
What are we talking about?
But he's my bad. I got the files mixed up. But you got to play him though, because in the days NBA, unless you are a championship team, you can't afford to have a roster spot with somebody that can't, like the Sixers. I'm a Sixer fan. They can't afford to have a roster spot with somebody who can't contribute at all. They don't have that luxury
They
anymore.
are sending a couple people to the G League.
But I'm just saying, right, because they don't have that luxury. So you need a guy like Council. You need these guys who can play now. Because you got two guys you got two guys in your starting lineup that ain't seen 82 games in a decade.
I mean, we're gonna be all right though.
No, but I'm saying you got Paul George who gets hurt.
I know.
You got Embiid who gets hurt. So you need those guys on the bench who contribute. Who can contribute? You got to have them.
I mean, every team does. And
That's my point.
Too far off from the
Well,
LeBron
Boston
and
teams.
nepotism
Some
thing.
teams don't. Some teams don't. Like some teams like Boston. Boston can get away with it because they deep and they got talent.
Yeah.
But if you're a team like the Sixers and
Yeah.
you're on the cusp and you got guys you got to have guys who can come off the bench and play. You don't have a lot of luxury to have projects,
Yes.
especially to tie $7 million up in the project.
Yes.
And
That's
that's
why I think
that's
it's
issue.
crazy.
Because when you got to pay everybody else, that $7 million gonna hurt you.
And that's where the nepotism is an issue at. Where
Maybe
it's like,
Brian took a pay cut.
that he did take a pay cut.
Maybe
Maybe he took a pay cut and gave it to his son.
That's his saving grace. He took a pay cut.
And he gave it to his son.
See?
See?
That's his son's
Don't
allowance.
matter, but now you're gonna work for it.
Yeah. But no, I think we kind of landed in between a little bit here with how we feel about nepotism. But then also, like, I think we also mentioned at a point in time that nepotism and networking are slightly different.
But it's an in between conversation. I think, depending upon the situation, where it's kind of going to carry the most weight. I think in the situation we talked about earlier, where Brian Roberts worked all the jobs and did what he was supposed to do, and it proves it now where Comcast is now. I think it's fine. I think a father, takes his son, he goes to college, whatever, he trains him up, and he learns how to do the job. I think it's fine. I do think there's an issue if you bring somebody in who's not qualified and who's probably going to make bad decisions and run the company down. Yeah. I can see, and somebody's been there 20 years building and investing. I get it. But on the same token, that's the owner's, that's his privilege.
Yeah.
That's his right. He owns the company. He gets to decide who runs his company. And whenever you work for somebody, you have to understand that.
Mm-hmm.
That they get to do things they want because it's their company, it's their organization. They're signing your paycheck.
You can't argue with that.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
No, I agree.
I
feel like I
agree.
had that mentality. And there's a lot of people out here who, they have this entitled kind of privileged mindset where, they think that, this isn't fair. I'm supposed to do this.
Devin has
to do that. But like you said, if the guy that's running it,
you want to read the
he
definition?
can make the decisions that he want to do.
All right, so this is from peoplesphere.com. So check out the article.
People's Fear.
People's
Sphere.
I know I was going to joke.
The article, Nepotism in the Workplace, what is it? And is it legal? That's not crazy. It says there's a fine line that separates networking from nepotism. Networking is an act of utilizing coworkers and supervisors to help you build connections in your intended field of employment. While it says nepotism is the act of hiring friends or family to work within your organization.
So it can be friends or family. It don't even necessarily got to be just family.
But see, but that disqualified. What and I agree with Chris's definition a little better. That took out the whole thing whether they were qualified or not.
Mm-hmm.
It just said friends or family. So how is that nepotism? Why hire Chris because Chris is qualified? That's nepotism. So I should hire another candidate that's not qualified just because we're not related?
Or maybe they say that the nepotism doesn't matter if you're qualified or not.
But it should. This goes into the whole DEI conversation I was saying. How do you say it's a DEI hire when the person is more qualified than you?
You talking about president?
No, any position. No, what they're talking about Kamala Harris. Yeah, but this is a big issue now because everybody's saying this about her, and now other people in prominent positions are coming out and saying, yeah, they said the same thing about me when these are my credentials. I paid my way. This is what I've done. This is what my resume says versus what this dude resume say who got 2 lines on his resume. I got 12 lines.
And I feel like that's a whole nother topic of conversation because even when they bring that up, I'm like, Barack Obama already, like we have a black president, and nobody was saying that before. They just looking for things to say and trying to find something that sticks.
But the thing,
and they don't have much honor at the moment, so they just.
It's another topic, but I also think that's one of those dog whistle words because it's applied to black people, and it's only applied to black people who get prominent jobs. They ain't talking about people who become like a mayor or it's only applied like when Baltimore when the ship hit the bridge and knocked the bridge down, and people say because they got black leadership they were all put there because of nepotism. They weren't saying that when they weren't having issues.
Mm-hmm.
So my point is almost like the nepotism thing. You hear people say the DI hiring and stuff like that, because it's always a bad thing. It's never a good thing. It's always a bad thing when they use that term. And it's like it's a dog whistle. And that's a whole nother show. But the thing that bothers me is because sometimes we agree with it.
Well, I got a question. It's one more thing. So was George Bush nepotism?
He ran, he got voted in. I'm just saying, he ran, he got voted in. You asking him wrong because
it also helps that George Bush Sr.
Of course it helps. Of course it helps.
President as well.
Of course it helps. He catapulted to the top of the party. Yeah, his dad helped him get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
well, Donald Trump, dad gave him all his first wins to get started.
Yes, and then he hired his son.
Mm-hmm. And his sons, he surrounded himself. When he was in office, his sons had these high-paying jobs. No way they were qualified for. But you ain't hear nobody say nepotism.
Nope. And that's why again, it's weird like how we talk about it sometimes. It's like it's only a problem when certain groups of people do it.
Yeah.
It's really only a problem when certain groups of people do it. But
well, like 35, we passed time. I know Chris is about to beat Chris before he said it. So
yeah. So it was another great episode. I know we got a little bit of a late start from myself getting here, but I think it was a great conversation, just kind of delving into the difference between nepotism and networking. Very close, very similar. And I think it's a way to go about doing it, I think you got to be kind of tactful and take qualifications into consideration. And yes, I am Black History 365. I love it. Tell me where you got that from.
I actually got it from a gentleman, and when I was in, I can't remember for the conference. No, I was in the conference in Cleveland. I was in Cleveland. There was a guy there from some Midwest. I forget the state he was from. But he was selling the curriculum. So I had to go back and get it, man. So I had to have it.
Definitely to see if we can find it. I would like to get it. But thank you all for paying attention, listening in to another great episode of Above Average Black Men, where we are here to empower, inspire, and uplift the community.
Like, follow, subscribe, share, comment. Above Average Black Men.
See you next week. Another great show, another great time.
Peace out.